Hey y'all, hey y'all. Welcome to TLT with Lita. I'm happy and excited to be back and to get back together and talk about my favorite subject, which is leadership. Let's go. Come on in, y'all. Let's have a conversation today. I was thinking about a lot while I was away and just taking care of different things that I was thinking about leaders going higher. And as I was thinking about that, I was like, we should have that conversation. We should talk about going higher and what it looks like. I know we get told all the time that, the responsibility, it rises and falls on leadership. We get told oftentimes that the weight of things is always on the leader. And that's true. I'm not here disputing that at all. I am wanting to have this conversation about going higher and how going higher doesn't always mean heavier. Sometimes it could mean that you actually ascend lighter as you go higher. So today's leadership tip is this: as you go higher, go lighter. As you go higher, go lighter. There is a metaphor that reminds us that leadership is not just about climbing higher, but it's also about what we release along the way. So, welcome to all of you on YouTube, on IG, on TikTok. Welcome to this session of talking about going higher in leadership. Again, going higher or climbing higher, it's not always just about the climb. Sometimes and oftentimes, it's about what you release along the way. And as we grow as leaders, we don't carry every single detail of the burden with the same heaviness. We don't carry the same heaviness that we did when we were just starting out. This is the thing, right? Instead of carrying every burden with the same heaviness, we gain perspective, we gain wisdom, and we gain agility that makes the challenges feel high, feel not just on the level that you're at, but they make you feel lighter even when the stakes are higher. Am I making sense to anybody today? If I'm making sense, drop a yes in the chat if I'm making sense. Again, it's not always about climbing higher, but it's also about what you release along the way. And when you gain all these other things, a better perspective, wisdom, agility, you feel lighter, even though the stakes are higher. So as you go higher, go lighter. Every time you grow higher in leadership, something amazing happens. It's so amazing, y'all, that you get lighter. The challenges don't disappear. Let me be clear. The challenges don't disappear, but you carry them differently. You carry them differently. And that's the power of growth. You can carry something better and differently than you did before you grew as it relates to your mindset, your perspective, You growing in wisdom, learning from mistakes. That's the power of growth. When the challenges come, and they will, you carry them differently. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever noticed how problems that once stressed you out now barely phase you? If that right there does not resonate with you, I want you to get in contact with me after this because I need to help you. As you have grown and matured and gained some insight, some fresh perspective, the things that once stressed you out don't stress you out the way they used to. In fact, you ought to be barely phased by it. If I'm making sense, drop a yes in the chat. If I'm making sense, say yes in the chat. That even though it may be the same kind of problem, same kind of issue, it don't stress you out like it used to. It barely phases you. And that, my friend, is what happens in growth. You start seeing adversity not as a threat anymore. You start seeing adversity as an opportunity. As you go higher in leadership, go lighter. Let's talk about this metaphor of there's a metaphor in leadership that says the higher the height, the lighter the flight. The higher the height represents growth, maturity, and expanded capacity as a leader. The lighter the flight represents learning to handle adversity with wisdom, resilience, and perspective. So the higher the height, the lighter the flight. And let's just have some real talk here today. Early career leaders, and I can attest this is true. It was true for me. And if it wasn't true for you, we need you to jump on here and tell us what you did so we can help some other early career leaders not do this. But early career leaders panic over small fires. Oh, I can remember the first time I had to do something as a leader, and one of my subordinates um, did something that was completely just off the chain, if you will. And inside, I felt panic. I tend to have a calm demeanor, so that's just me. But inside, I was like in pure panic. Like, are you for real right now? You really did that? And so early career leaders panic over small fires. Mature leaders, on the other hand, stay calm even when the whole building is shaking. That's what happens in growth. You no longer panic over something that you have a different perspective about. When you experience personal growth, it often happens in adversity, y'all. In adversity, you should experience shifts. There should be some shifts that happen. When you start going through something and you are growing personally as a leader, you should experience some shifts. One of the shifts is your shift in perspective. Adversity becomes a teacher, not just a trial. You got to be able to see this differently because, see, it could be everybody else around you that wants you to panic. But when you start seeing adversity as a teacher, You start seeing what you can learn out of this. So you should experience a shift in perspective. You should also experience a shift in capacity. By that, I mean what once drained you now strengthens you because you've built resilience. And when you have built that resilience, you're not easily, just taken out of the race. You don't easily fall out and quit. The things that once drained you strengthens you. Another shift you should experience is a shift in response. This is so important. There's so much in that. We don't have time to get into all of that. But your shift in response, instead of reacting with stress, you should react with strategy. And that takes a number of things. You got emotional intelligence, leadership intelligence, different things that should come into play that would help you not to respond or react in stress, but to respond with a strategy. Respond with a strategy. Let me give you an example. An early leader, for example, a team could have a disagreement, and to that early leader it could feel like a disaster, because when people start disagreeing, you think that stops the mission. But a growing leader, on the other hand, they see conflict as an opportunity for clarity, for deeper trust, and for a stronger culture. Because oftentimes when there is a conflict, it's because there's a breakdown in communication, or there is some misunderstanding. And once that group gets the understanding they need, then you'll start seeing the conflict as an opportunity to bring clarity to the team. Then that team, once they understand each other, they have a deeper trust. And now the culture is getting stronger. So these shifts you should see whenever you are experiencing personal growth in adversity. Shift in perspective, shift in capacity, a shift in response. So I want to give you quickly, and we're going to be out of here. Again, let me say this to those of you who tune in, whether you watch it live or you come back later and watch it. Um, Give me some feedback about some topics that you'd like to have conversation around in the future. I really want to um, kind of address some of the things, talk about some of the things that are relevant to where you are right now. So I want to give you these three growth lessons from that same metaphor: the higher the height, the lighter the flight. Number one, adversity is inevitable, but growth is optional. Everyone does not choose growth. Hey, Sharon, good to see you. Everyone doesn't experience the growth or choose growth. So adversity is inevitable, but growth is optional. Leaders cannot control storms, but we can control how we rise through them. When we experience storms, whether it is in the leadership in our business, leadership on our jobs, leadership wherever you serve as a leader, you can't control the storms, but you can control how you rise through the storms. The second growth lesson is wisdom lightens the load. Every lesson learned reduces the weight of future challenges. The weight of future challenges gets lighter because you have gained wisdom in that area. So those of you who are on YouTube, whether you on IG, whether you are on TikTok today, wisdom lightens the load. And I want to mention a scripture where the Bible says wisdom is the principal thing. And it says, with all you're getting, get an understanding. So wisdom lightens the load. What once felt unbearable now feels manageable because you built that muscle of wisdom. It's nothing like having something to help you overcome the stuff that's going to happen anyway. The storms are going to come anyway, y'all. We can't avoid that. We can't stop it. We can't control it, but we can gain wisdom. We can gain wisdom. So, the third growth lesson is this: growth brings perspective. At higher heights, you see farther and clearer. If you have ever either been in an aircraft on top of a high building, you could be in a high rise. When you are at a higher height, you see further and you see clearer than you would if you were down looking up. So, growth is what gives you the the vision, if you will. Growth helps you see from a higher height. Problems that once blocked your view become stepping stones in hindsight. So whenever you are thinking about growth, think about it from this standpoint from now on. The more I grow, the further I see and the clearer I see, because growth will take you higher, and higher heights help you see farther and clearer. All right. So I want you to think back to a challenge you may have faced, whether it was on your job, in your business, wherever you are, whether it was in ministry. Think back to a challenge that used to overwhelm you. Think about that just for a moment. Now I want you to think about how do you carry it differently now? How do you carry that same exact challenge differently? If you have learned a lesson from it, if you've gained wisdom from it, I guarantee you carry it differently now. It doesn't overwhelm you now. It doesn't cause you to panic anymore because you have gained something out of it. And I want to leave y'all with this closing thought. Leadership growth doesn't mean life gets easier. It means you get stronger. The higher you grow, the lighter you'll fly because you've learned to see adversity as an ally and not an enemy. Adversity, even though we don't want it. That's just the truth. We don't want it all the time. But when we start seeing it as an ally to go higher and lighter, we won't see it like an enemy anymore. All right, y'all. The higher the height, the lighter the flight. So I'll send something out tomorrow with the growth lessons. I want y'all to have those. And I look forward to the next time we get together for Tuesday Leadership Tips with Lita. All right, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday afternoon. Peace.